Guys and gals, welcome back to the channel. You're at Freedom One Garage. We got Jalen, Mackie, and the third team member, Josie, here. It's drawing time, and we actually have the entry names in the giveaway hat. Josie's going to do the honors. Pick one. Todd Gimple, pretty close to home here in Nebraska. Todd, you're a big winner. Thank you everybody for entering. I'll get a hold of you, Todd, and let's get to the video. Thanks everybody.
Dang it, you guys.
We were doing so good. Welcome back to Freedom One Garage. This is a Chevy 350. It's out of the 84 square body. We just pulled it out a little while ago. And on this side, 3 and 5, the middle two cylinders are low on compression. And we know it overheated. That's the report from the owner. And we've got to figure out what's wrong internally. It's got a bad exhaust leak over here. It was leaking oil like crazy. So we're going to go through this engine. We'll do, all the bracketries, exhaust manifolds, water pump. Then we'll get to the intake, and the first head we're going to take off is this one because we're concerned about these two cylinders. But before we start even pulling parts off of here, we got to kind of make a plan, and we got to start our investigation with just kind of looking. All right. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do, we haven't had them out yet. We're going to pull spark plugs and take a look. And just give them just a little read. So right out of the gate, we've got R45 TS's, fairly new plugs. So we don't expect to see a ton, but we don't see signs. This would be number 7. We don't see signs of any oil burning. Electrode's still clean, a little surface rust. Now here's number 5. I don't know if you can pick that up, but number 5, the strap is shiny and the center electrode is shiny. That means it still has a film of oil and or fuel, basically unburnt stuff on it. It's wet. This is dry, less shiny, not shiny at all actually. This one is wet. Now let's look at number 3. Number 3 looks a little healthier, but also a little bit of wetness in there. So we know that these two cylinders are not burning efficiently. And then at number 1, we're back to a really nice, actually, looking plug. Even though it's new, no problems. Now on the even side of the motor, yeah, we're looking good there. There's 2, 4, might have just a little bit of fouling there, like a little bit of oil or something, but hard to say. The carburetor on this thing probably needs a rebuild anyway. 6, looking pretty good. There's no indication that anything on the even side of this engine is passing through the cylinders and not getting burnt efficiently. So, clue number 1, we're still on the right track. 3 and 5 are not happy. Okay, next thing I like to do is, we've got the plugs out, we're on the stand, we've drained the oil, coolant's mostly out of it. We'll lose a little bit of that stuff as we start flopping this thing around, but let's put a ratchet on the crank bolt and just see how this thing turns over, if we feel anything or hear anything curious. hear the cylinder singing a little bit. We're hearing it from both sides. Everything's really smooth. We've been around once now. We'll go around again just because. No noises, no hiccups, no tough spots, nothing like that. So this is a good sign that we don't have any brokenness inside of here. Let's go ahead. We're going to pull water pump, pulley, bracketries, exhaust manifolds. We do have to figure out what our exhaust leak is on this side. These exhaust manifolds are pretty well cobbled up, and I can tell you right now we're going to suggest to the owner that we replace on those, both of them. Let's start pulling things apart. What you in the mood for today? Country, a little bit of pop? I don't know. We'll figure out something. Here we go. Yeah, that one's loose. That one's loose. Any of it tight. That one's a little tight. And that one was fairly tight. Wow. It just wasn't sealing up at all. Okay, we got show and tells here. This is the even side valve cover, and this again is a reman engine. It just maybe the maintenance was a little lacking from time to time. Obvious, you know, right here, oil leak, and a little bit of, you know, dirtiness and sludge and that kind of stuff. That's the even side. Now let's look at the side where we got two weak cylinders. And this is very telling, I think, of what's going on inside of this engine. I'm even going to take you out into the sunlight for this one. Look at that. All kinds of dirt, crusted up oil, fumes, whatever else. This side of the engine, less happy than the other side. So now that we have valve covers off, we're going to go back to our big ratchet and we're going to do a little turn again, and we're just going to take a look at these valves and see what's going up, what's going down, what maybe isn't going up. We're going to pay really close attention to the odd side here, and I'm just going to keep turning it Everything looks to be moving all right. We'll take a quick little look across the way at the even side. So valves are moving like they should. We don't see any that look extremely dead. And we would expect some lifter noise if we had something that wasn't moving like it's supposed to. So the cam should be good. Lifters, you know, should be good. Yeah. So back to disassembly. Let's pull an intake and then let's pull a head. Probably all about where they should be. These are torqued nicely. This one was loose previously because we had a bracketry on it. Oh yeah, we're gonna be. Yeah, whoever put the intake on took their time, it looks like. Oh, man. Bolt's a little screwy. Oh yeah, we're fine. Now that one's a little tighter. That one's all right, we're all right. Nothing too extraordinary as far as looseness or tightness here. Alright, it's not horribly dirty in here. This engine allegedly has about 10,000 miles on it, or that's the guesstimate. But yeah, those miles weren't nice to it, so to speak. I mean, it could have had a lot better maintenance. A lot. So, alright, let's get rocker arms, push rods. Now, because we know our issue is on one side of the engine, I am going to kind of keep track of where these rockers and push rods came from. Did you have to? But until we figure out exactly what's going on, we're going to know where everything came from in case we got to go back and do a little bit more investigations. You guys, I'm sorry. I just popped the head off and carried it away and I didn't record it. But we found our culprit. Part of it, at least. We're on the right track. Here's when you pull these apart, try to, you know, as you're pulling the head off, it's a little difficult, but try to get it to pop off the locating pins and come out kind of somewhat in shape. It's a lot easier to examine at that point. And we come over here to the bench and flipped her over right away. We've got major head gasket failure between 3 and 5. And we've also got just a little bit of a failure between 5 and 7. 1 and 3 looks okay. We could have maybe been burning some coolant as a result of that failure. But definitely our culprit. And yeah, we're on the right track. All right, it's the next day. We took a little break to go do some basketball coach slash dad stuff yesterday evening. We're back in the shop. We're getting down to the gritty nitty on this thing, so it's probably time to get this thing into our temperature controlled, dust free engine build room, and then we'll continue our disassembly here. Let's get this thing moved into a cleaner environment. Okay, now that's taken care of, let's bring you back up to speed. We've got driver side head, odd cylinder number head pulled off, obvious head gasket failure there. It's trying real hard here. This is 1, 3, 5, 7, so between 3 and 5 where we were losing our compression, this is why, and 7 was trying pretty hard to play along. Some of this misshapen stuff is from pulling the gasket off, but right here especially, this is from heat and problems in cylinder 5. However, the cylinder walls, they're glazed. You can see a little bit of vertical lines in here, but this is 3, this is 5, but I can't catch my nail on it. So we're okay there. Tops of the pistons look really nice. You know, now we're falling in line with, yeah, this is a 10,000 mile or so engine. It just didn't get the maintenance. We did pull off the pulley and a couple other doodads before we came out this morning. Here's an interesting deal we found. For some reason, it doesn't have the factory balancer on it. You can clearly see, I think this says 77 C10 350. So it's got a 350 balancer on it, but from a different truck. That's not part of our problem. Just interesting how, you know, and why we ended up with a different balancer. I'm gonna leave that for now. Let's go ahead and pop off this passenger side head and we'll take a look at that, and then let's get to the bottom of this, literally the bottom of the engine, because we got to check bearings, and then that'll decide, you know, what kind of options the customer has as far as, you know, getting this thing back in the running condition. Again, we're going to break these head bolts loose by hand. Okay, no click there. No click there. A little teeny click. Another little teeny click. Not very tight. Same thing. There we go. That one's where I would like to see it. That one's those are shorter bolts down there, remember. There we go. That's more like it. Kind of so-so again. In general, I'm going to say this, these don't seem to be as tight all the way around, you know, by the elbow gauge anyway. There we go. That one's all right. Get this guy and yeah, like that. All right, so yeah, not as much of the, you know, again, using the elbow measurement, not as much torque on this side. There she goes. All right. It was trying. The heat was working on head gasket on the even side between 4 and 6 here. I don't think we quite had a failure. We probably weren't super happy here. But otherwise, I mean, the valves look really nice. We're gonna go ahead and flip the engine over and pull the pan. We're gonna check bearings. Well, here we can. We've got a little bit of water in this cylinder, either from the car wash or just from pulling the head here. There is a little bit of ridge already in here. Let's get a light on it and see what we got showing. Yeah, we've got some streaks. Nothing I can really catch my nail on, but definitely some vertical lines. Definitely the cross hatch is gone. Let's roll her over though and look at some bearings and see where that takes us. All right, before we flip this over, we do have to pop the lifters out. Best way to do that, strong magnet, and then now each one of these lifters has, you know, created a very intimate relationship with the cam lobe that he or she, you know, mates with. Is that proper to say? But regardless, you got to make sure, the thing is, you got to make sure they go back where you take them out of. So one way I like to do this is I'll go take a couple of old egg cartons. Now the egg cartons themselves aren't very valuable, so you can just kind of call this recycling. What's in them lately has just been ridiculously priced, but luckily around here we can work our way into some farm fresh eggs every once in a while. But anyway, back on topic, we've got our egg crate marked 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then we get a second one for 7 and 8. We're just going to pull our lifters out one by one here, and we're going to plop it in here. All right, we got good news here. If you can see, I think that can focus, you can actually see a circle wear pattern in here. What you don't want to see is a line or a square or a blotch that indicates this thing, because this thing moves every time it goes up and down. It's continually rotating, so that's why we should have, and we do see the circle mark on there. And then more evidence of overheating. This is what some of those were sticking in the bore. You got this oil varnish, and that's, you know, probably from lack of maintenance, but also probably from that oil getting way hotter than it would like to be. But no, lifters are good. Every single one of them has a wonderful wear pattern. Came out of the hole nicely, minus the varnish on some of them. And again, middle cylinders were the worst in that situation. But yeah, now we can just throw them into our little egg crates. Close the lid, and we can set these aside, and we don't have to worry about them moving, going away, or getting confused with it. There we go. Golly. That takes some of the patience off you right there. We're still a little... stuck. Not too bad. No chunks. That's a good thing. All right. This is interesting. This is just laying on top of the oil pickup. That is the broken off end of a screw extractor. Whew. That could have done some damage. Okay. Got a couple little chunkies here, but nothing significant really. I think we can go ahead, pull this pump out. Should be able to get our timing cover the rest of the way off. Yeah. Timing chain's in good shape, but we'll replace on it. Now, I want to pull, tell you what, let's go to where the heat was and let's pull a center main cap and look at bearings there first. Okay. All right, so it's not horrible, but definitely we're getting into bearing material in the center of the bearing, and we have some signs of heat in the center of the bearing. It's been beaten on here a little bit. So, you know, we're going to recommend that we change out main bearings. Let's pull a rod cap here. And this is number 3, so part of our problem area here. We'll get out the specialty tool for pulling main caps here, or rod cap, sorry. There. Well, you don't got a bead on them. Ah, yeah. Okay, now we're in the bearing material that we can catch our finger on. Yeah. Here's number 3 rod bearing. Definite grooves, definitely got hot. Now the crank side of things, darn it, we can almost catch our fingernail on those. What we'll probably try to do is see if they'll clean up with a little bit of emery. It might be all right. If not, we're gonna have to have the crank turned. But we definitely need bearings. All the bearings. All right, well, so this isn't great. It may dress up by hand, but we got to make sure nothing swam through the oiling system on this thing. Yeah, we're gonna slide the camshaft out. The lobes on the cam look great. You can see everything from here, but I'm a little worried about the cam bearings because they're softer than the lobes. And if we have to do the cam bearings, then that means for sure she's going to the machine shop, and yeah, let's not get too down right now. Let's pull pistons, pull crank, timing chain, all that good stuff, and then we'll just have to see. Oopsie. We All right. Oh boy, the rod cap extraction tool is not manipulating this one very well. Let's try again. Oh boy. Okay. There we go. If you get one that's real sticky, you can use a small punch, and the ends of the bolts have kind of a cup on them. And you get into the center of that cup so you don't hurt the threads on the bolts and you're not beating on the cap itself. And that'll get that sucker to pop off of there usually. And that one was stuck pretty good. Yeah. There's some wear there. That one's through to the bronze on top. That's the first one we've seen do that on the top side. A little sticky in spots, but I don't mind that. And we're gonna look in here. All right, let's get you up to speed. Pistons, rods are out, cam is out, and here's why, you know, we were skeptical of some of these bearings. This is number 2 rod bearing. Almost all of the rod bearings on the rod side. There's number 1, 3, 5 actually ain't too bad. 7 is, they're all showing copper. They've got some grooves. So rod bearings for sure, main bearings for sure. And then we want to take a look at the cam bearings. And on the cam bearings, we lucked out. And usually, you know, cam bearings they don't have that hammer load from, you know, there's not actually an explosion pushing up and down on the cam bearings like the rods and the mains absorb. So we've got just a little bit of discoloration, but life is pretty good. Doesn't mean we're out of the woods yet. But for right now, we're going to say no replacing cam bearings, which means no machine shop. But we still have to check the deck and the heads to make sure that they are still flat like they're supposed to be. And then right now, we're going to play around a little bit with this crank and some emery cloth just to see how that, you know, cleans up. We've got a little bit of grooving. You can't really catch your fingernail on it, but at the same time, you can feel it with your fingernail. Did that make sense at all? I think it does. Yeah. But we're going to play around with this just a little bit just to see, so we can report to the customer what happens when we do take emery to this. And we'll show you the results. And just like that, the first rod journal is back from the Freedom One machine shop. Looking pretty. That's gonna pan out. Now we haven't pulled all the mains yet, so again, we're not completely out of the woods, but that's a good sign. And then also, as far as machine work goes, the trueness of the deck and the heads is gonna matter just a tickle. Let's clean the rod journals up the rest of the way, and then we can go ahead and pull the crank, because we'll have to do main journals outside of the engine. Obviously you can't get the paper on there, so let's do the other rod journals, and then we'll pull this crank out. We're good. Those cleaned up great. And that's about, I don't know, 7-8 minutes or so. Looking better. Here we go. Uh-oh. That's not good. Dang it, you guys. We were doing so good. Oh, man. Well, here's the end of the bearing. They're supposed to be sitting in the cap level. That's a spun bearing. Son of a biscuit. Let's pull the rest of these off, but we got issues now. Well, dang. Let's take a closer look here, guys and gals. There's our spun main bearings. I'll actually have to get the numbers off to there and see, but here's the cap, and this is kind of the killer. This cap is worn pretty badly. This has been spinning for a little while. It just isn't good. Yeah, let's pull the crank out, and then I'll try to explain why this is bad. Dang, and we were gonna clean this up too. Come on. Let's go. Ooh, where's my saw? There we go. Hang on. I should have had a place to set this before I pulled it. Ah, shoot. Man, you guys, that's just... Here, let me get a visual aid. Actually, this is going to be an audio aid. So here is the machined journal for the crank bearing. Here, see? Here, let me get you closer. This is going to be good educational things and stuff. All right, this is with the bearing. This is without a main bearing. We'll just go nice and smooth. Here's the one that spun. The bearing's gone. It's melted to the crank. Yeah. Let's go look at the crank. Let's see if this will even come. Oh yeah, the bearings are gonna come off. Whoop, 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 whoop. Oh, we dropped them. Hang on. Whoa, it got hammered. Okay. This guy, Yeah, the one with the hole would have been bottom. All the bearing material is actually worn. And you come in here, wow, this crank's probably savable, you guys. Oh, but the block is junk. You can feel it. So I just sent a text with this picture and a picture of the spun bearing to the customer, and we're gonna have to have a chat, see what he wants to do. We can either, like I said, swap in another engine, or we can start spending money at the machine shop. But you have to keep in mind that even though we've got a lot of machine work and a lot of issues here, we still have yet to check and see if either head is warped or cracked. Same thing with the deck side of the cylinders on the block. So we've quickly surpassed a point where we're comfortable moving forward with this block. It kind of stinks. That's where we're at. I thought we were going to do our first little rebuild, and barring that spun bearing, guys and gals, we would have checked the deck for trueness. You saw the crank cleaned up. One main journal bearing spinning really did us in. Otherwise, what I think we would have done, hone out the cylinders, new main bearings, new rod bearings, polish up, hand polish the crank and rod journals, new rings, slap her back together, gaskets, seals, all that good stuff, new exhaust manifolds, and move on with life. But rest in peace, small block Chevy. You're done.